All right, welcome everyone to the second week of our virtual career fair for Black Golf Directory. For those who haven't been with us the last week, this is our fourth annual virtual career, and we're so excited that we can continue this mission of educating people about the golf industry and all the opportunities that there are available to you for employment, to make money, to make a living, to have a career. I'm excited today because we have an organization that's near and dear to my heart. I'm also, currently a part of this organization as a coach, the First Tee. First Tee is an organization that's been around for quite some time, and they are the largest youth or golf organization, I want to say, in the world. They are pretty much everywhere. You should know them if you know anything about golf, but if you don't know anything about golf, you're going to learn about them today. And I have my awesome guest today, Joshua McDade, who's going to talk to you about who he is, what he does, and what the organization is all about. So I'm going to bring Joshua in on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Currently, we have him on Instagram, and he's going to introduce himself to you.
Cool.
Josh.
Thank you, Jamie, for having me. Like I mentioned to you before, I've been looking forward to doing this for a couple of weeks. As Jamie mentioned, my name is Joshua McDade. My title for the First Tee is Director of Chapter Relationships. What does that mean? I'm a consultant for 25 chapters throughout the country, helping them with things as far as governance, fundraising, business development, things of that nature. So really on the business side to make sure that these chapters can operate at a high level to do wonderful things for the young people within their chapters. So I'm all over the place. I have a chapter in Puerto Rico. I have a chapter in Yakima, Washington. We're 2 hours away from Seattle. That's the best way I can tell you where Yakima, Washington is. So I travel often to make sure that they're okay. But the ultimate goal is to make sure that they're serving our young people in the highest fashion possible.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, the First Tee is all over, and I know that to be the case. I think I've worked for 3 First Tees in my lifetime so far. Ventura was the first one out of college. Then I started the girls golf program at the First Tee of Cleveland, my hometown, and currently I'm a coach at the First Tee of Central Florida. So, yeah, pretty much anywhere I live, there's a First Tee.
150 chapters throughout the country.
Yeah. So, you told us about the First Tee and where it's located. Can you give us a little bit insight about yourself? Tell us about your background and kind of how you got involved with the program.
Well, Jamie, I came up playing basketball, and I was all about hooping. And at 13, my brother, who's an attorney, was like, "Hey, man, you need to really start playing some golf." And I'm not about to go out there and hit that golf ball, man. I don't know anything about that. All the things that probably a lot of people on here have about golf, I had the same notions about them. However, I'm a competitor. And so I went out to the driving range with him at 13, hitting the ball. Why can I not hit this ball that's sitting right here? I'm a competitor, Jamie. I do this at a high level. But it just got me to just continue to play. And since 13, I just turned 41 last week. I've been playing golf. Some good, some bad, but the networking opportunities that come along with the game, the challenge of I may play well today, but then I go out there tomorrow and I look like I never swung a golf club before, is why I stay engaged in this. Transition to when I went to college, I was like, okay, I want to do something on a higher level when it comes to golf. Like I want to give back to people that look like me. Based on some of the experience that I have. And I knew that it was a avenue to do that. So I just kind of did some research, went to grad school, always looking at the Golf Channel. So I knew about the First Tee. Looked up my local chapter. I started as a volunteer, and that was in 2009. Here we're in 2023. Just kind of worked myself up the career ladder, and I'm in the role I'm in now.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the First Tee program that people may not know. Of course, we're on this platform today to talk about employment, but the beauty of First Tee is there's a volunteer opportunity. And the good thing about that is, to your point, gives you a little insight to the organization, see what they're all about, see if it's something that you want to commit yourself to. And then if you are interested, I won't say it's easy to get in a payroll, but I think it isn't that hard if you're genuinely interested and committed to it, and you kind of climb the ladder, if you will. Maybe start out as a coach, and then if there's some full time opportunities, move on from there. So we're going to get into that more, but I just want to address the fact that starting out as a volunteer is always a good way to kind of get started with the first tee. Um, and so you were a basketball player, and and golf is a sport that you. And I always bring that up because people think, oh, I got to be a good golfer to work in a golf organization, and I don't know. I know that's not the case. So I'm glad you made that point that basketball was your first love. Um, and so now, in the role that you're in, can you give us a little insight to that exactly, and kind of how you got to that point?
Right. So, as I mentioned, climbing the ladder in Tennessee, I started as a volunteer. Once I went to grad school, I graduated from grad school, did an internship with AJGA, which I know you're familiar with. The first T role presented itself for the chapter of volunteers. So I came in as an operations director, just really boots on the ground, trying to run programs and Nashville and surrounding counties, just trying to get some more likes, some more enthusiasm about the program, just promoting the program. Got promoted to a program director where it was all about the program, all the logistics, the hiring, the training, all the things that go into that. From 3 years later, I got promoted to the executive director. And at that time, we became the first tier Tennessee. So it wasn't just Nashville from where I'm from. I'm working all over the state on anything, budgeting, best practices, fundraising opportunities, working with corporate partners. So it just kind of that was kind of my pathway. And you know, in any job, you kind of feel like you kind of hitting your roof, hitting your head on the ceiling, like, okay, what's next? The opportunity here at First T came at headquarters. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida now. And it just made sense for my career progression. I always wanted to keep on challenging myself. I always want to go to the next level. And this role right here presented just that. So in Tennessee, I was really overseeing one chapter. Like I mentioned earlier, here in Florida, I'm overseeing 26 chapters as a consultant. And it's just great seeing the diversity amongst chapters. I came from a big chapter. We had $1 million budget, and we just kind of did things a little different. I work with chapters such as like Southeast New Mexico. Don't worry about it. It's in Roswell, New Mexico. It's way out there. Great chapter. But their budget may be $250,000. So, you know, it's challenging. How can I help a chapter with maybe a smaller budget, less resources, think and work as a chapter with $1 million budget? Because at the end of the day, it's about serving the young people to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about that again, people don't think about when they think of golf is the business, right? First Tee from the outside looking in is a youth organization that caters to getting kids into golf. And that's all good. And some people are like, great, rah, rah, or I don't have a kid. So First Tee ain't got nothing to do with me, right? But at the end of the day, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have budgets, and you have to have people who know how to use those budgets and pay for salaries and so forth. So can you speak to just on the chapter level, what are some of the full-time roles that you all have available so that people understand that each chapter has to function as a business and what that entails?
Cool. Well, I'll kind of talk about it from both sides. I'll start with the chapters. From the chapters, you usually have a workforce of 2 to 5 people. It's a necessity that each chapter has an executive director and a program director. Now, as a chapter is a little bit bigger, has a bigger budget, you start getting into jobs like operation coordinators, marketing directors, just more of more jobs, just depending on the more kids that you serve or what area you're in. But for the most part, executive director, program directors. I know people hear executive directors. Okay, I need to be a golfer. I need to have a master's degree. I need to have all these things. Not necessarily. To your point, do you understand how to run a business? Do you understand budgets, fundraising, training, all these different avenues that go into any business? If you're an entrepreneur, if you run a lemonade stand, the things that you have to take into consideration, those same practices are very transferable. And that's kind of what we're looking for within executive directors. And like personally, it's like I want to just kind of get off that notion that you have to be a golfer. You got to have all these different degrees. You got to be PGL, PGA certified. Not true.
Mhm.
Can you run a business? Do you know how to communicate? Like the simple practice, business practices, whether, like I said, you run an lemonade stand or a Fortune 500 company, are the things that we're looking for in our executive directors.
Right.
Program directors, kind of on the same avenue, but it's more of like leading coaches, training, things of that nature. But it's still some of those same business practices. No, you do not need to be a golfer. You don't need to be a scratch golfer. You just need to understand pretty much how to run a little business, how to lead, how to motivate, things of that nature.
Right. Yeah, no, you touched on a lot of great things. And as again, I told everybody earlier, if you weren't on the call, that I served in several roles. Currently, I serve as a coach, but I was at one point the girls golf site director.
There
So
you
they had a
go.
program targeting girls, and I specifically was hired to start that and run that in Cleveland, Ohio. So you're right. You have to come in not from the mindset of, oh, I'm just here to teach kids, because a lot of times you may not be the one teaching the kids, right? You might be dealing with the budgets, the marketing, and you all do an excellent job on marketing. I mean, that's why you're the biggest golf organization in the world, junior golf organization in the world,
Right.
because you all have great marketing and the tools that every site can use to promote the business. You guys are the names at every big PGA event, LPGA, you're all over the place. So um, I just want people to take that away from this interview, that if you want to work in the golf industry and you don't want to say leave your hometown,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these local chapters have opportunities, and even if their opportunity isn't available now, typically there may be something that could come along. So you should definitely get involved, like you said, the volunteer or coach level, so that you're kind of in the fold. And the beautiful thing, and I want you to touch on this, is the coaching roles, for example. Those are consulting roles, or contractor roles, if you will, for the most part. So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, and kind of average pay for those type of roles as coaches?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like with any job, especially with First Tee, we're in nonprofits, you need volunteers. But as we know, everything is going up. Gas is ridiculous. And more chapters are having to understand you have to pay coaches. Now, with anything, they're not going to just pay you just because you volunteer and you got a nice resume. You got to come out there and show that you really care about serving the young people, and that you're in it for, and not necessarily the long run, but you're in it.
Mhm.
When I was in Tennessee, we had like a little orientation piece. Usually people went through a couple of different sessions, and then it's like, okay, we want to invest in this particular coach. That means paying them. That means going to our national trainings, which really teaches you how to teach the First Tee curriculum to our young people. And that's the case throughout all of our chapters. You mentioned pay, anywhere from $15 to $20. But that also depends on the market and the budget for which a chapter has to be able to pay coaches. But
Mhm.
I will tell you, from a headquarters perspective, we are really trying to drive home to our chapters that, hey, cost of everything is going up.
Right.
And volunteer is cool. And you have some people just want to volunteer. They don't want to get into coaching because that means to them it's more responsibility. And in some instances, it has to be. But yeah, anywhere from $15 to $20, depending on the market, is a good way to kind of start the program, get in coaching. And then from there, if you enjoy it, you kind of work yourself up from there.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Things are going up, and I can speak to the chapters I've worked for. They offer other benefits, right? They give you some gas cards. They give you a Starbucks card, or in the case we have Wawa, it's a gas
I like it.
station.
Right.
Um, and then that the training piece is what I like as well, because in addition to the pay specifically for coaching and anybody who deals with the youth directly, there's a training program. So can you talk a little bit about that, and how people coming in who may not have ever taught golf before, or played golf before, what you all provide as far as training?
Absolutely. So it's a national training program. We do 14 different trainings depending on the level throughout the country. We try to touch, Northeast, Southeast, West, Midwest, in all our trainings. But it's level one through what we consider a First Tee coach. In level one, you get to learn how to teach our younger kids. So I'm talking about like from 7 to 9. And then there's some follow-up information once you go to the training. 10 to 11 is level two, 12 to 13, level three. And to be a first T coach, you really get into the teenagers, which is a huge emphasis on what we're trying to do as an organization. But they're all good. You get to go out of town, you get to network with other coaches. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's like you can sometimes be within your chapter as a coach and you think that that's just the only way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
But you go somewhere else and you're around some other coaches. Number one, you meet new people, which is one of the best things in the world. But it's like exchanging lesson plans. Just meeting people, just trying to figure out a better way to teach the young people. You bring that back to your hometown and kind of implement those things within your program. But it's a great program. I'm actually a first T coach. I went through the whole program when I was at the chapter. Like I said, very educational. But I think the most important thing is like the networking in anything. You just meet wonderful people that we like to call put on your go-to team for any and everything. If you look into go into the first tee or anywhere in the golf world, and you meet somebody at a particular chapter, may not have a spot at your particular chapter, but somebody else may say, "Hey, Jamie, we got a spot over here. I think you'd be great for you. And if you're willing to move, there's a job for you." So one of the best training programs, I'm into several of them, best training programs that I've seen within youth sports.
Yeah, no, it is really great. And I would say, even as someone like me who is a teaching professional, the way you all structure your program is a unique approach. So I always, I think it's a good for everyone to kind of take the training so that they understand your model of approach and also just learn different ways of teaching. And I will just remind everybody that's watching right now, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat at any time. We are, just having conversations, so we definitely want you to feel like you are part of this conversation. So just shoot a question in the chat, and we'll answer. I want to also touch on the headquarters, and I want to reiterate to those watching, the purpose again of this whole thing is that Josh and I talked about this offline. Did not know about any of these opportunities, especially at the headquarter levels that were available at all the companies that I am interviewing. And I was in golf from age 7. So I imagine you or someone else who comes into golf later in life, golf doesn't you don't know what's available to you. So that's why I'm doing these type of interviews. And the headquarters of First Tee, which is in Jacksonville, I got to visit probably a few years ago when I was working at LPGA in Daytona Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful facility, beautiful location. I think you're right around some beautiful golf courses, and just didn't know that there was a headquarters. I knew about the local chapters, and I had been a part of 3 of them, but it didn't even come in my mind that there's an actual headquarters. So how does one go into that, as far as, like, obviously you have a website with jobs, but just what are some tips or some things you can give us as far as if someone wants to consider working at headquarters to get in the door?
Cool. Great question. So our headquarters, and I would say internships, because I kind of start there, is for college kids. So, that's kind of where we start. Got some information from one of the ladies that was an intern. So if I'm looking off, I'm just kind of reading some of the bullet points I put here. But it's a $15 an hour job, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. The post for our internships will go out in December on our website. So definitely check those out. But it's 5 different categories of the business units we have in place to which we have internships. So just look here and just want to make sure I get these all correct. So we have network relations, which is a lot of things pertaining to the chapters, things that go along with the chapters, a lot of the behind the scenes things. That's what somebody would do. We have one called advancement fundraising. You know about this. You can't run these organizations if you ain't got any money. And so a lot of that is going into stewarding our donors, doing different things to make sure that chapters have the information they need to go seek donors for contributions of anywhere from thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. So that's another department. Events. We run events all over the country. Our flagship event just happened last week at Pebble Beach. It's a lot of logistics that go along with that. That's kind of the events internship. Marketing communications. That's kind of to what it is. We send out newsletters, we send out monthly reminders of what we're doing at headquarters, and also seek information from the chapters on how we can serve them better. That's where marketing and communication comes into play. And last but not least is business ops. We run our CRM, it's called Salesforce. That's where it's our database where we do registration, we collect all the information. It's very database analytics. So if anybody's really interested in that, we have a section of our business that has an internship opportunity in that. Like I mentioned before, these jobs come out December. Firstt.org. You can hit /about/employment. I'll make sure Jamie gets this information as well. But that's where a great deal of our interns go, and a lot of people get hired from that, either there or we have a whole PGA tour that we're associated with. So it's kind of like if you're interested in getting into the golf world, first internship program at headquarters is a good way to do that.
Awesome. We have a question in the chat from Sean, my friend Sean. He said, do the internships provide lodging if selected from out of state? How do you track your employment opportunities as you move through applications?
Yes to the first question, lodging is provided. You said say that again now?
How do you track your employment opportunities as you move through applications?
Okay, so yeah, everything just kind of goes through first HR, human resources, and it's a vetting process they go through. You see a candidate that kind of express interest in a particular job, and you see that they have some of those qualifications that will make them a worthy candidate. You go through HR as far as doing an interview, and it's just kind of just high level what the job is about. After that, it's anywhere from 2 to 4 interviews that you're going to be interviewing with the current staff of the First Tee and really getting into like the nuts and bolts of the job, your responsibilities and things of that nature. So it's just a process, anywhere from 2 to 4 interviews. And if you continue to do, you continue to have good interviews and they see that you can definitely be an asset to what we do here. That's just kind of the process. And in the internships, I didn't mention this, they're from May 15th to August 4th. Little fluctuation in those dates depending on whether you get out of school or you need to go to school early.
Got it. Okay. Great question. Thank you for the response. Along those lines, just from your side of things, when you saw interviews or been a part of interviews, could you give a few tips on some do's and don'ts that you've seen? Because obviously, again, people probably come into them with the mindset of, hey, I'm about to teach some kids, but you just said it's a business. So we're hiring not necessarily just people to be instructors or teachers of youth or with experience, let's say, of teaching, but also understand business. So you can give some tips on things that you would recommend or things that you've seen that people should not do in those process of getting the employment at the headquarters?
Don't be late for your interview.
that's
an ultimate red flag. It's hard to come back off of. You better be sharp after that one because that's already a red flag. I think the most important thing is if you don't know the answer to a certain question, it's okay with saying, okay, let me, did I hear you correctly? Or could you, I think this is kind of what you're talking about. I just want to make sure, like, it's okay being vulnerable.
Right.
And I say there, but like, you don't have the answers to all the questions. You don't have, people are not necessarily looking for the right response. It's kind of like, well, how do you feel about that? I can even go a little bit step further on the resume because I'm reviewing one of my mentee resume right now. And I'm like, you're not selling the things that a person that's interviewing you are looking for. These little things aren't nothing. Okay, I did a class over here. I did this over there. What groups are you a part? Do you have any leadership roles within those particular groups that you can kind of hone in on? It's like, don't sell yourself short on a resume because you don't think it has anything to do in this particular part, golf. No, you may have some leadership skills that are very transferable that that particular person that's interviewing you needs to know about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be comfortable talking about those because if you did those things, you have stories to kind of back up what you're talking about.
Right. No, that's some great tips. And I would say, just from my end, we collect resumes at Black Golf Directory for the purpose of this event. We don't want people to feel discouraged if they go to the website and they don't see a role that interests them, or uh, feel that they're not qualified for. So we encourage everybody to send us their resume. But along those lines of what you just said, Joshua, you know, we need you to send stuff that has pertains to the industry, right? At least not in the sense of golf, but just skill sets that you provide that will make the people receiving these resumes understand why you would be a qualified person for the roles that they're going to be potentially opening up or they have already available. Because the thing that is important about doing what we're doing today is, I know and you know, there's not a lot of us in the industry, but there's a huge pool for getting more people of color, and specifically Black people, in the industry, uh, in the business side of things. So if you're going to put yourself out there and send a resume in that may not pertain to a specific job, again, like you said, Joshua, highlighting the skill sets that you bring in, transferable skills from other roles you've played, volunteer, or paid, will be helpful to the person looking at this blanket resume. So I think those are some great tips. Again, if you have any questions for those who just joined us, feel free to shoot them in the chat. But we got First Tee, Joshua McDade from First Tee here, talking about really the business of the youth organization, not just how to get more kids into golf, but really about how you can be a part of this large organization that is worldwide, and it's continuing to grow every day. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up with just having you reiterate what opportunities that are available currently, meaning ongoing, that people could consider, and also just anything you think some people should know if they're going to consider working for the First Tee.
Gosh. So yeah, as I mentioned before, we have chapter opportunities that are on our website, firsttee.org. Then you get /about/employment. That's where all the opportunities, whether it's headquarters or chapters, are listed. And in that, and if you can kind of actually kind of identify whether they're like operation roles, executive roles. So I know we may be talking to several people that are in the internship entry level role, but there's several of our executive roles that are on that page as well. And that's kind of where you want to go for all that information. The headquarters internships, as I mentioned, they're a great way to kind of get in. We don't have enough representation at that particular level. We have some within the chapters, which is great, still not enough. Jamie can attest to this. Yeah. But I think my whole thing is I want to see us in these particular roles, and that you don't have to be a golfer. I will even double down on that. And sometimes when you're trying to think about new ways of doing things, I try to get out of it because I have this golf of 20 plus years mindset. And I want to listen to somebody that does not have that. They just coming in from a simple, common sense, simple, okay, if you do this, this, and this adds up to this. So that's the one thing I love to say to people, like, you don't have, like, I keep reiterating, you don't have to have a golf background. But we need people with diverse mindsets in the golf industry. If we're going to continue to grow the game, if we're going to continue to what we speak of and what we try to do on a daily basis, to make this a very diverse game, whether Black, brown, LGBTQ plus, anything of that nature, we need to make sure that we have representation of people that just aren't golf people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great message, because having worked on the side that you've been on, yeah, it's very few of us in the midst, and there's a perception that we're not welcome or we're not wanted, and the reality is, in a lot of cases, we just don't have enough people applying. I mean,
Cool.
just the bottom line.
Mhm.
You tell people, like in this instance, hey, we got these jobs available, apply, go to our website, and it's like chirp, chirp,
Right.
you see nothing. So I just want to encourage those who are watching, even if you are, gainfully employed and have no intentions of necessarily applying for First Tee, if you know anyone that is in between jobs or coming up and may be interested in considering a job in sports, let's just be clear, golf is a sport. Uh, they should consider the First Tee because there's, like, again, local opportunities as well as opportunities at headquarters that you can consider at all levels, full-time, part-time, internships, so forth, that will make it easy for you to transition into this organization, and learn about it quickly. So just want to keep reiterating that because unlike some of the other opportunities, First Tee again is all over. Everywhere I've lived, there's a First Tee. So just have to go to the website and find your closest one. And when we are a part of them, I just want to put that out there. I can tell you from personal experience, I work for the Central Florida First Tee now as a coach. One of the places that they have me go to is the Boys and Girls Club in
Mhm.
my neighborhood. So it's literally less than 5 minutes from my house, which is so convenient. Um, and I'm so glad that they have me go there because, to be honest, there's a bunch of Black kids in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
And I know when they see me coming in the door as a person who knows golf or is doing the golf program, that's a whole different experience for them to see me, especially as a female, and having the girls there. It makes them connect the dots. Like, this is not just some random group coming in doing their, run of the mill event. This is something that I can also do, right? Because they see me and they're teaching them golf, having a good time, and I understand them. I can just say, I go in there and I think to myself, okay, these kids are a little energetic, but it's not that they're bad. They're just
There you go.
energetic kids. But I can sometimes worry. I worry sometimes. This is me sharing my personal perspective here, that if I wasn't the one coming in the door, that the perception would be these kids are unruly.
Right.
And the thing is, they're just kids.
That's it.
So my approach is going to be different, right, than those of maybe others who don't necessarily are used to being around Black kids. And so from that perspective, I want to encourage you all that if you are gainfully employed and you don't necessarily want a full-time job, definitely consider being a coach at your First Tee site. They'll get you properly trained, like we talked about the training program, and also provide you the tools you need to just do what you have to do, even a uniform. So everything you need will be provided, and you'll get paid to do it as well. So
Yep.
just want to put that out there for those that are just tuning in and don't know too much about the organization.
And Jamie, to that point, I want to add one thing. Like, the one thing that we are as a business, but I'm kind of taking it on myself, is how do we get in more underserved, underrepresented communities?
Mhm.
And to your point, let's just be real. If you're going into Black community and you're trying to present something foreign to them as this game of golf or the program,
Mhm.
we need somebody that looks like you and me to go in there and do it.
Mhm.
They'll be a little bit more receptive to it. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, doubling down on what you said is very important. Like, even on a volunteer standpoint, if we want to continue to grow this game and all the opportunities that this game has, that's been for me, for you, a lot of our peers, we have to be the ones that kind of go into these particular communities and start that conversation and start the programs and build that momentum.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Most of the successful First Tee programs, in the sense of diversity, I feel like I see a lot of people like yourself, Joshua, at the helm, or in some of the leadership roles, as well as in the coaching. And because we know where to find our people, we know where our people are located, and we are able to connect a lot easier. So yeah, just wanted to reiterate that point because the purpose of this event today is simply to give you all opportunities to consider in the golf industry that fit your lifestyle at this point in time. And first tee, again, keep saying, is good for anybody's lifestyle right now because you can be gainfully employed and still work for the first tee. If you need a full-time job, there's probably opportunities at the first tee. So I know we're being repetitive at this point, but I just want to make clear that first tee, if you're going to dip your toe into the golf industry, consider this organization as a way of getting in the door. Josh, I'm going to let you wrap us up with any last thoughts. And then if anyone has any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat because we're going to be wrapping up in the next couple minutes.
Oh, first of all, Jamie, appreciate you having me here on your platform. I follow you. You're doing some wonderful things. So I want to make sure I give you your flowers while I got an opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
And then anything that I'm gonna keep on sending information to you. Like I said, you can get on our website, but you have a great website as well. They kind of breaks down a lot of things. Is educational to just the golf industry in itself. So I'm gonna make sure that you have the information that I'm talking about now on your particular platform as well for people to go navigate and see certain things. But like I said, thank you for having me. This has been great. Like I said, I'm passionate about my people. I'm a Tennessee State University graduate, so I'm all about my people. And in this industry, we need some representation, and we need it in on each level. And I want to see people get up to the highest level. That's when you make the money. That's when you can start making decisions about certain things. So, like I said, thank you for this, and look forward to connecting you in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. And I just want to say we have a double feature today. So be back here to join us. We'll definitely be on YouTube and Facebook. I'm not sure about Instagram, but we'll be on our YouTube channel and Facebook at 4 p.m. today, Eastern Standard Time, with Invited Clubs, which is the largest club owning a golf management company in the world. So please join us again at 4 p.m. today for that interview. Thanks again, Joshua. And thanks everybody who joined us. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.